a beau arborer un air sérieux derrière sa barbe et ses lunettes, la malice pointe. Une vraie gouaille et un accent à couper au couteau qui se fie à tout bon irlandais. À 53 ans, cet acteur international brille par son éclectisme. Il a travaillé avec Ken Loach, Steven Spielberg, alterne cinéma indépendant et grosses productions comme Le Choc des Titans ou encore Game of Thrones. D'ailleurs, il reprend son personnage de Sir Davos dans la saison 5 que vous pouvez voir actuellement. Et oui, tout s'éclaire. Aujourd'hui, je retrouve Liam Cunningham.
You look magnificent.
Oh, you too. Cette semaine, il est à l'affiche d'un film, et oui, sur grand écran au cinéma, dans Lady Grey. Il incarne un personnage torturé sur fond d'Afrique du Sud post-apartheid. Rencontre avec un acteur voyageur.
64 slaughtered in one night. I need more men. I'm offering 55 rand today. We'll track them down. I'll kill them one by one.
Angus, who is that man really?
Well, he's a man that was involved in the fight, the apartheid fight and the apartheid war. But where we meet in the film, it's 10 or 11 years later. So there are a lot of wounds and a lot of pain. All those characters that we try and discover things about, and they're all quite. They don't want to discuss the elephant in the room, and that's one of the parts of that I really liked about it. I liked the fact that it was.
You know what it means to be different. One day they tell you, now your father's white. Makes you different, no?
I used to live in Zimbabwe. I lived there for 3.5 years, not long after independence. So I got a feel of this kind of healing. I won't say gentle healing, because it wasn't gentle. It was tenuous kind of. It was, do we get on? Do we trust these people now? There's been death and...
painful healing.
Exactly, it's reconciliation. I don't know, sometimes I've been wild. Like an animal.
And you shot in a very isolated place, far from civilization.
It was quite far from civilization, yeah. And that adds to the atmosphere of the movie because the landscape is such a huge part of the story.
You told me about the fact that a few years ago, in your previous life, you were
when I was a real person.
yeah, you lived in Zimbabwe as an electrician.
Yes, I worked in the bush. That's what I did. What Angus did. But I I used to look after high voltage rural electrification. One of the areas I looked after the national park in Zimbabwe, which is the size of Belgium. It's 16,000 elephants, and I was in a four-wheel drive with my two assistants. And it's not till later, it's not till sort of 20 years later, you kind of think, man, that was quite glamorous. But at the time, like, it's a pain in the ass sometimes.
But why did you do this? Was it a
I
need
had
for
never
adventure?
been anywhere.
Or?
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. My first time on a plane, I was 22 years old.
But how much time do you spend far from home?
As much as I can. I hate my wife. Please don't use that. No, I really got the bug, and I think it's because I kind of started so late. I kind of like it when it's a bit rough, when it's a bit. You've kind of got to rely on your abilities to cope. I like those. And the other thing is, as we all know, you meet different cultures, and everybody's the same. Everybody's trying to bring up their children, trying to get on, trying to make a living, and it kind of it rejuvenates my hope in human nature. When I feel bad about whatever in the news, and I love to go travel somewhere and just talk to the local people because it's nothing like the news.
Yeah. And being part of this big show, Game of Thrones, are you forbidden to accept something because you have a very tight schedule, or?
No, because most people think...
Are you still a free man?
Well, I wouldn't say I'm completely free. They do have some exclusivity. I mean, I'm not allowed to do other American television shows because which is fair enough.
This is the payment that was demanded by King Stannis for my crimes. I consider it an honest accounting. He's an honest man, and he's your best chance to get back the money you've sunk in the Westeros, which is a lot, I imagine. Wars are expensive.
The wonderful thing about it, most of the audience, because they see this world and see all they think we live in Westeros. And I mean, even they think we film and are there all the time. But I'm lucky because I live in Dublin. It's an hour and I can drive it in an hour to where I film. And for season 5, that's just coming out now, we shot from mid-June to early December, and I did 15 days in all that time. So you might work for 2 days and be off for a week and then come back for 1 day and be off for 3 weeks. And if you're not in an episode, you know you're going to be free. So I'm allowed to do movies and European television and European films, obviously.
I've been talking to your sworn brothers. Many of them love you.
They're good men.
Many don't. You were seen taking the body of a wildling girl north of the wall. Why?
It's where she belonged.
Some of the Night's Watch feel you have too much affection for the wildlings.
Do you have the feeling that Game of Thrones change in the way directors can look at you? Or?
I was lucky enough every couple of years I was asked or stumbled upon something that was beautiful. That was a gem, like L'Avant se lève I was lucky to do, and I did Hunger with Steve McQueen, and that was like, Cannes was very good to us. And I was lucky enough to be involved in projects that you're particularly proud of and maybe culturally significant. And what happens is, with this thing being so popular, the Game of Thrones thing, I get a lot more things offered, but I just get offered a lot more crap. I still get the same amount of good things offered, so you have to say no to a lot more stuff.
What kind of crap?
I'm not telling you. How can I tell you that? Well, I'm going to name the stuff.
No name, but the type of characters you don't want to play, or...
Yeah, well, people want you to repeat it, or they want to put a sword in your hand again, or that sort of thing. And they... Because, listen, you can understand it. You know, if something works, Hollywood tends to want to repeat it. You want to fascinate people, but I don't mean as a person, but as a character. Because I think if you're doing your job properly, whether you're a director or a writer or a cinematographer or an actor, it's to intellectually challenge people. You can make them cry, you can make them laugh, make them think about their lives. That's the great gift that we are allowed as actors and artists to do, is to remind people that they're not alone in the world.
Magnifique définition du métier d'acteur que celle de Liam Cunningham, qui vient de tourner dans l'adaptation de L'enfance d'un chef de Jean-Paul Sartre, aux côtés de Robert Pattinson et Bérénice Bejo. Quant à savoir si son personnage de Sir Davos survivra à la fin de la 5e saison de Game of Thrones, le mystère reste entier.